For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Simply put, the UWF men's golf team is the gold standard in the Gulf South Conference, and that was reinforced earlier this week when 8 Argonauts and their coach were named to the GSC Men's Golf All-Decade team. Chandler Blanchett was named Golfer of the Decade, and Coach Steve Fell was voted Coach of the Decade. Blanchett, along with Juan Miguel Heredia, Jacob Huizinga, Carlos Rodriguez, and Henry Westmoreland, were 5 of the 6 athletes voted onto the first team. Christian Basso was a second-team choice, while Ryan Black and Otto Bonning were honorable mentions. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Rasheed Lovelace for the Pine Forest Eagles. At 6'3", 300 pounds, this young man has incredible strength and the frame to go along with it. Lovelace has picked up offers from Vanderbilt and UAB, yet he is only a junior this year. He primarily played on the offensive line in 2019, but is looking to be the leader of that vaunted defensive line for new head coach Ronnie Douglas and the Eagles. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
In the forest near the side of the road.
No need for alarm, sir. The forest is where bears live.
But this was no ordinary bear.
No ordinary bear?
Yeah, 1 second I'm having a smoke taking in the view. Next thing I know, I am face to face with Smokey Bear.
Let me guess, Smokey had a tip for you.
He did. He must have seen me toss my cigarette on the ground. He told me never to do that because it only takes 1 spark to start a wildfire.
He's a smart bear. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans? That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
That's what Smokey said. I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous, and you're not.
Good point.
If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference, because 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
From first take to your radio.
Some players are going to get less because Patrick Mahomes got more. Now, Mahomes is such a good dude and such a team player, and also from a selfish point of view, I'm sure wants to win lots of Super Bowls, that he did not sign the kind of deal that hamstrings the team going forward. He signed the kind of deal that will allow the team to be very competitive around him, and because of his greatness, likely win more Super Bowls.
1 till 2, weekday afternoons on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. Archer Matt Stutzman holds the world record for the longest shot with a bow and arrow under Olympic conditions. He hit his mark at a distance of 930 feet. What makes this so special is the fact that due to a disability, Matt Stutzman has no arms and therefore uses the bow with his feet. Now that's pretty awesome. And professional U.S. swimmer Michael Phelps has won more gold medals than 80% of all countries in the history of the Olympic Games. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gulick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. on this Thursday afternoon. Hope you're doing well. For myself, I'm glad to be back today. Of course, appreciate Chad filling in for me yesterday as well. Heard it was a great show. Heard a little bit of it yesterday, especially the interview with Bill Polian. Good stuff there. But look, I know we have a ton to get to today. We have a special guest. Tom Pelissero is going to join us, our national reporter for NFL.com. He is all over the NFL. And you know what? No busier time than right now. And I know we have a ton, like I said, to get to. Going to be interesting to hear his take on some things going around the league, from COVID testing to maybe some rumors popping up right now. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as we always do and continue to do so, I want to start off our show by thanking our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. I think it goes without saying, but we're going to say it. We thank them so much for the time and effort they put in, not just because of COVID-19, but each and every day, what they do. Protecting us, helping us get back to normal, being there. Look, you don't need these folks until, well, it's an emergency type situation. So just think about that for a moment. They're there to keep us safe, to try to get us back to normal. And I know normal is not a word we may be using for quite some time, or maybe a new normal. We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, these folks each and every day are out there. I mean, like I said, things we don't even know that go on and they protect us from. So we thank them so much. I know there's a lot of unrest in our country for multiple reasons right now, but on this show we appreciate them. We appreciate what they do. And, we talk about from our police officers, firefighters, EMS or EMTs, EMS, whatever it may be, nurses, doctors, all those folks in our community. We are blessed to have so many great people. And for those out there that may disagree, well, I just want to say this. Don't let a few bad folks ruin it for everybody. We have some truly, truly great folks here, and we thank all our first responders and healthcare workers. And look, with that being said, we also thank our grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. We appreciate those folks, and you know it. You've been out there to get groceries. Those folks have been there the entire time trying to keep things as clean and safe as possible, and we thank them so much. And for truck drivers, I always call them the silent heroes. I know a couple are listening right now. We appreciate them joining us as well. And speaking of joining us, Coach, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. As always, I second that thank you that you put out each week. I mean, each day. It's, as I said before, we could take the whole hour and talk about all that goes on there. The people tend to lack the response of gratitude that they should have. But anyway, we thank them very much, and we're very appreciative.
Absolutely, and that is taking it lightly. Like you said, Coach, we could talk forever about those folks, and once again, we appreciate them. If you're listening right now, we appreciate you joining us. And listen, it's called Talk Football, and that's what we're going to do today, as always, here. And like I said, Tom Pelissero, national reporter for NFL Network, NFL.com, will join us. He's been around the league since 2003. He'll have some great insight for us today. Going to be really interesting. And, Coach, I want to jump right into this. Look, this was not going to be my first story, but you know what? As to this morning has gone on, there has been a lot of rumors brewing. Now, once again, it's dangerous if you go out there to message boards and things like that, and that's where you get your news. Please don't do that. But, Coach, the Redskins, the Washington Redskins, we've been talking about the name change and everything that's going on. They announced, of course, Monday that they were going to change their name. It's now Thursday. They're still working on some other trademark things, but now it seems that they may have some more things on the table here that maybe I don't know. I'm not going to speak on it, Coach, but do you have any news on what may be going on right now with the Washington Redskins?
Yeah. Let me be very, very clear about this. There is something huge going on with the Redskins right now as we speak. I've been talking to people all morning about some of the things that have happened and the other accusations that are certainly in the works, and some other things are going to happen. But it's big. There's some speculation about people, and I can say this. I'm not going to go into some of the detail that other people are talking about because I can't absolutely verify that. I do know it's already out to the press that there's some problems with sexual promiscuity, and even to the extent that there's some accusation about some rather recent sexual problems by certain people in the press that may be wrapped up with some of the Redskins. I don't know. But I do know this. I know there's some problems there, some big problems, and things are going to break. And we are letting you know in advance, and hopefully that we'll learn a heck of a lot more. We're gonna ask Tom. I'm sure Tom's got some insight, and he'll say what he can say about it. Nobody wants to say something that's totally unsubstantiated. But anyway, that is the thing that's happening right now, JP, and it's unfortunate, but it is going on.
Yeah, it's that's like I said, I've heard a million different rumors, but I don't speak on rumors when it comes, especially when you're talking about this. Now, rumors of a player signing somewhere a little bit different, but you're talking about people's livelihood in this, and yeah, so you tiptoe around it, but Coach, that's why I know you have plenty of sources around, but that's the news. Look, big news is coming. We're not, we like you said, Coach, with some of the promiscuity and things like that. We'll find out. Supposedly, the Washington Post is supposed to break this story coming up fairly soon, so. Until then, that's what you got right there. And, Coach, appreciate you for that. And, Coach, I want to jump into a couple other things here. Now, we know Derrick Henry. Look, Coach, I've said it over and over again, and the listeners of this show know this. They're probably tired of hearing it, but I am a tremendous, big-time Tennessee Titan fan. Hasn't always been great. Last year was a lot better, but nonetheless, we heard Ryan Tannehill come out earlier in the week and talk about Derrick Henry, hoping he gets paid. He deserves to get paid for what he does and the hard work he puts in, and we know that. Look, Derrick Henry always he's a fan favorite for sure. Everybody loves him, even going back to Alabama. Listening to guys that played with him, coaches and everything, talk about the work ethic and the time he puts in. And Derrick Henry, you know what? I am so happy to say this. Of course, gets his contract for 4-year, $50 million, $25.5 million guaranteed. To look at probably the best running back when you look at maybe outside of Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is a pretty versatile back, but a guy that absolutely changed the season and a guy that could not be stopped last year when you look at that playoff run that the Tennessee Titans had. And, Coach, the reason I'm so happy about this, because normally, I'm happy for a guy to get paid, but Derrick Henry is a guy that's been quiet during this time. When the Titans had talked about trying to work out a deal, and they said, look, we're going to go ahead and put you on the franchise tag, he didn't say anything. He just moved on. And, look what happens. I'm just – it's good news for me, but it's great for Derrick Henry as well to go ahead and get his money, get paid. He's a well-deserving young man at running back. I know running back is a tough position. We talk about some teams have 3 to 4 running backs, and some teams don't want to pay the guys the running back money here. And when you look at it, he is still the 5th highest-paid running back. What he'll make this year, as Ezekiel Elliott will make more, Christian McCaffrey will make more, the Le'Veon Bell with the Jets will make more, and David Johnson with the Texans, if you can believe that, will make more as well. That's part of the whole problem with the Texans, what they have going on right now. But nonetheless, Coach, Derrick Henry, good move to go ahead and shore him up for a few years here for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, you bet it was. I'm a big Derrick Henry fan. Know a little bit about him even from high school. He played at a real small high school, small town out east of Gainesville, Florida. And, of course, went to Alabama. There were a number of schools after him. And he went to Alabama and just did a great job up there at Alabama. He's a good kid. He's a down-to-earth, solid citizen. He's a heck of a football player. And if you compare talent with salaries, there are at least 2 or 3 of those backs. Well, just put it bluntly, he really should be the first or second paid back if it's just talent and the importance to a football team. He's got to be first or second on the pay list. So I admire him for getting it done, getting the deal done. It's good for him. He's got 4 years. He's got a good guarantee. And then with the 4-year contract, JP, that puts him in perfect shape for the next big change in the salary cap numbers and so on, which puts him in great shape for a raise. That's what Dak Prescott was trying to hit, was that 4-year window instead of the 5-year window. But now the big thing is for a running back, 4 years of NFL pounding is a lot of pounding, and you don't know what he might, what shape he might be in, condition he might be in from an injury standpoint. in 4 years, especially as much work as he gets. He puts them all on his back and carries that football team.
Yeah, he is if you haven't watched Derrick Henry, you haven't paid too much attention to football, but he is a big-time bruising back. And, yeah, Coach, going back to his time at Yulee High School, and of course, over there near Gainesville, if you watch his highlight films, go before when he announced he was going to Alabama, that's when I first recognized and watched some of his film. This young man has been running over folks for quite some time, and great young man. Everybody that has had a conversation with him or had any kind of interaction loves him. Very humble guy as well. Just continues to work hard, and so great to see people like that get what they want here. $50 million, 25.5 guaranteed. That's great for him. And you're right though. He should be the first or second highest paid guy there. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And some of these teams are they're struggling right now, and there's part of the reason why. Coach, I know we got a couple minutes here. Myles Garrett, of course, his contract. You look at it, and well, he's got $100 million right there. When you look at it, a possible $125 million deal. This is interesting for Myles Garrett. When you look at it, it's going to be a 5-year, $125 million deal. That's with incentives and things like that are made up in that. I'm not going to get into the weeds too much, but Coach, a lot of people are talking about, you know what, this is a big move because when we're talking about a defensive end like Myles Garrett, I think it's important. Look, he's played 37 games in the NFL in his 3 years. He's had 30.5 sacks. He had 10 sacks last year in 10 games. Of course, Myles Garrett is tarnished by what happened with the helmet issue with Mason Rudolph last year, and it was truly bad. There's no sugarcoating it. What happened was not a good look for him at all. Of course, was suspended the remainder of the year. And, Coach, look, everybody, when you go back and you do some research with this guy, at Texas A&M, a great guy. A lot of people loved him. Everybody said, he was a fan favorite type guy, very humble, worked hard, loved playing football. I think, Coach, when you look at this one situation, now it's a horrible situation, and this could have been really bad if Mason Rudolph would have been injured, like tremendously injured. We know what the conversations we had when this happened. There's no way around that. He has apologized to whatever extent apology means to some people. But when I look at this, Coach, I feel like it was a freak thing that happened. I want to think positive about Myles Garrett just because he's a good player. But when I look at this, Coach, do you believe, and I know this is a personal opinion, but do you believe that 5-year, $125 million, that Myles Garrett is that type of game changer for the Cleveland Browns?
Wow, when you get to these types of dollars, it's hard for me to focus on anything but what in the world do you do to get that kind of money? It's hard to even fathom. Does he deserve that? I can't really say. I would hate to say that he does or he doesn't. I do know this. I know that he's a heck of a football player, and I think I would give him, based on his past and what I know about him. I don't know a whole heck of a lot, but what I do know about him, I think that was an anomaly that he got into that trouble. It was not something that would be expected of him to do again, and I think he certainly learned his lesson, but the suspension there. I think he's still got a game or two this year he's got to spend on it. But I don't think he'll do it again. Is he worth the money? He's obviously worth a big contract the way they're throwing that money out now. But is he worth being the highest paid defensive player of all time? Oh boy, that's tough to say. I can't go there. I really can't.
And that's understandable, Coach. That's going to be tough because, like you said, we hope it's a one-time thing. We think it will be, but you're talking about the highest defensive player right there, especially when you're talking about guaranteed money. It's that above my pay grade. That's all I'm going to say. You know what? And I'm going to leave it at that. But, Coach, listen, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, Tom Pelissero of NFL.com, a sports writer for him, big time. He has had his work cut out for him this offseason, and it seems like it's not going to slow down anytime soon. He'll join us right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon, hope you're doing well. Appreciate you joining the show with us. Look, we've had some great guests this week. We've got another fantastic guest to join us, and we appreciate it so much. Tom Pelissero, the national reporter for NFL Network, NFL.com. Of course, you've probably seen him on shows including Game Day Morning, Good Morning Football, NFL Now, Total Access, just to name a couple here. Of course, Tom has been around the league since 2003 when he covered the Vikings and Green Bay Packers. We know, look, he's had probably one of the busiest off seasons with the pandemic and everything else going on. Football has not slowed down necessarily, and it seems like he may have a busy day ahead of him as always. And, Coach, I know we got a lot to get to with Tom here, but I'll go ahead and send it over your way.
Okay, thank you, JP. Tom, thank you for taking the time out of a very busy schedule to be with us, and we appreciate your time, my friend.
Of course. We're certainly busy. It's not a lot of football right now. It's everything that goes into us actually playing football come this fall, but happy to join you.
Well, listen, I'm going to put you right to work here. I got a couple of things that are huge on the agenda here. One, I'm getting some inside word all morning from people on NFL teams that I guess there's something really, really hot going on in Washington right now with the Redskins. What are you hearing?
Well, what we know is that there are several members of the organization who have left or been fired over the past several days here. Alex Santos, who's one of their longtime scouts, being one of them. Richard Mann as well, another front office guy, and also their play-by-play guy. At this point, I know about as much as I think a lot of other people do, in that there is a story that seems like it's going to be coming from the Washington Post, kind of talking about the overall culture that is existed in Washington. And this coming against the backdrop of them making a name change too, dropping the name on Monday, now working on figuring out what the new name is going to be. There certainly have been a string of different embarrassing episodes over the years for the what is now the Washington Football Club, and it will be fascinating to see, especially after what I would consider to be unprecedented build-up and whispering among local media members, exactly how all the dots connect when this story comes out.
Yeah, it's there's only so much that can be said. I appreciate you filling people in on that. Obviously, this is football country down here, Tom, as much or more so than anywhere else in the country. So anything concerning football is big news here. I want to jump quickly to the big story as well. What do you hear? We've all heard different stories. I have my own feelings and thoughts about the season, but where are you? What are you hearing as of today? Because it could have changed from yesterday.
Well, I mean, this could change in the next 10 minutes while we're talking here. Really, this is a pivotal few days in terms of trying to figure out exactly how this entire thing proceeds. Because the NFL and NFL Players Association, medical people have been in communication for months about protocols, COVID-19, testing, contact tracing, how to keep people safe in the building, how to keep them safe on game day, potential changes to rosters, changes to interactions between people, all the way down to separating the players, the coaches from other support people in the building and trying to mitigate exposure, knowing that they cannot fully eliminate exposure to the virus. But really, there's the health and safety aspect of this, and certainly there's some important things that still need to be sorted out in terms of testing frequency, in terms of a waiver, in terms of if the player contracts COVID-19 after towards the camp or during the season, do they have the same injury protections, workers' comp, and those types of rights that any other player who tears their ACL might have. Those remain open issues between the sides, as does the schedule with the NFLPA pushing for no preseason games, leaning on a recommendation from the Joint Medical Committee. The NFL had asked the NFLPA and the players to show up a couple weeks early to camp in order to make that calendar work and give them the longer acclimation period. The union refused, and now we're coming down to a point where, we're 2 days away from what the CBA would dictate as the report date for the rookies, as early as Saturday for the Texans and Chiefs rookies, and as early as next Tuesday for everyone else. But in every GM I talk to, every player I talk to, no one has answers, because, it's one thing for the medical people to be working on those protocols, but then everything has to then fit together with football ops, with what they're dictating for the club. And then you've got the economic piece, which I think was really sort of undersold through the course of this process. They have a revenue-sharing agreement between the players and the league in which there's a projection of the following year's revenue, and that's what is used to determine what the salary cap number and the benefits number are. Well, since they went to this revenue-sharing agreement back in 2011, there has never been an occasion where you have had what is now being projected as at least a $4 billion revenue shortfall relative to those projections. And so players get 47 or 48 cents on the dollar. That means they got about $1.8, $1.9 billion that have to be made up. The players want to spread that over the rest of the CBA all the way through 2030, basically divided up among future salary caps after having a flat cap in 2021. That would account for that deficit. The owners want their money back now. That's why they proposed in their initial proposal a 35% escrow of player salaries that the players would never get back if, in fact, we do have this multi-billion-dollar revenue shortfall. So there has to be some kind of a middle ground. The league wants resolution on the economic piece before players report to camp. The union, from everything I've heard, is in absolutely no rush to do that deal. And so if they cannot strike a deal here in the next couple of days, really there's two things that can happen. The league can either say, all right, everybody pause, pump the brakes, we're not going to report yet, we'll let you know, but everything is on hold, or they can enforce their management rights, tell the clubs, tell your players to report whenever you want to. Players would have to show up, and that would set the stage for what would likely be an expedited grievance on behalf of the union, claiming that the league has gone against the recommendations of the Joint Medical Committee and created an unsafe working environment that unionized workers, of course, have a right to not participate in.
Yeah, those are all interesting issues. Yesterday, I had Bill Polian on the show, and Bill's an old friend of mine. I got hired Bill at Buffalo years ago. And he was saying that on the shortfall, they would probably have no problem in amortizing that out over a number of years. They've done that before, and they would do it again. because of what's at stake here, which is a season. The other thing that I see that may be a real plus for both is the fact that both players and owners want that television money, and they want to get there, which means they got to get to the regular season. And to get to the regular season without taking too many chances or minimizing the chances of this virus overwhelming them. So what is the best way to do? I really think they can come back here in the near future, in the next couple of days, 3 or 4 days or 5 days, and say no preseason games, number one. And you can bring them in 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks to get ready to play, and we play regular season. Our coaches are going to say, well, we can't do that because people are going to get hurt. It's not going to make any difference. That's what they're going to be looking at, I think. I really do. Maybe 4 weeks at the most. Get them ready, and don't tell me you can't do that, because during the season, that if you lose somebody and you got to bring somebody out off the street on a Monday, you get them ready to play that Sunday. So, that's what we're looking at.
And I've talked to coaches, too, who, to that point, say there could be, it in many ways, in a condensed training camp after, don't forget, they didn't have an off-season. They didn't have a spring to install their systems and get the rookies up to speed and all that. I've talked to coaches who say you're better off not having the preseason games, because what happens around a preseason game? You've got a walkthrough, you got travel to the game, you got a game, and then you got an off day. Well, that's 3 days, basically, that you're losing. You get a couple more practices in there. So it'll be interesting to see how they sort through some of those things. There'd also be a revenue impact of losing preseason games, though it's far less. The TV revenue point you bring up is a really good one, because not only would the ratings presumably be through the roof. I mean, look back at the draft ratings, how high those were relative to other years. You once again will have potentially a captive audience, depending what happens with college football. People craving football in the fall. You could move, if there's Saturday games are wiped out, you could even think about moving some games to Saturdays. You could own a huge piece of the calendar that the NFL already does. But then on top of that, you are negotiating the new TV deals, which could kick in sometime in the next couple of years here. They also can pull the lever to go to 17 games for the regular season as soon as 2021. We have been of the mind, based on everything that I have heard from within the league, that lever probably wouldn't be pulled until 2022, maybe even 2023. Well, if you do it a year early, do it next year, it's like pulling $1 billion out of thin air right there. To say nothing of now the gambling revenue, those additional revenue streams that they could have coming in. Everybody's been anticipating that the salary cap would spike about 2-3 years from now, because you're going to have those new revenue streams, the new TV deals. Really, by spreading it out over many salary caps, you would create a situation where, yes, it would be a level in the short term. The unions proposed a flat cap for 2021. But if you're talking about dropping $5 million per club over 9 consecutive years to close that revenue gap at a time that the revenue is spiking, you're still going to have a rise in the salary cap. So absolutely, I understand from the owner's perspective, they're thinking we don't want to give a multi-billion-dollar interest-free loan to players that they slowly pay off over 10 years. But there has to be a middle ground that they can find here to spread out some of that, because the players' union, and rightfully so, doesn't want 1 year of players, one set of players, to bear the entire burden because they happen to have the misfortune of playing in the year where COVID-19 struck the world and struck the NFL.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And based on what I've heard from 2 or 3 sources, most importantly from Bill, is that really is not a big problem. They'll end up doing that. Right now, it's a negotiating tool. Let me jump to. I know you deal mostly with almost exclusively with the NFL, but Tom, what are you hearing about colleges? And I know it's much more difficult for colleges to make this happen than it is the NFL. Much easier for the NFL. There are tremendous logistical obstacles that confront colleges from playing their numerous and NFL not as many. But what are you hearing about college football and where it's going?
Well, there's a lot of NFL scouts and general managers who are very interested in this because, of course, as you know, they set their calendars months ago for how they're going to get around to all the schools in the fall, and they have their procedures about when they're doing certain things, when they want to have their meetings. Right now, everybody is in limbo to a degree. It certainly sounds like the Power 5 conferences are going to try to play, even if it's a conference-only schedule, this fall. And as one NFL executive brought to me the other day, that's about 95% of the players who get drafted. But you still have these other leagues that do they play, even if, let's say, the Power 5 plays this fall conference only, the other leagues, do they play in the spring? Do they whack football entirely for the 2020-2021 academic year? That's going to impact things in terms of your all-star games, the combine, maybe even the timing of the draft, and if everything gets pushed back to the spring, what happens? Would you have a situation where there would be a bunch of high-profile college players who would simply say, I'm not playing, I'm going to go into pre-draft training? You could have a slew of early entries into the draft, guys just refusing to play in that season. That would water down college football. If the NFL in that scenario didn't move back the draft, they'd run the risk of ruining their relationships with all the college coaches who have them on campus in the fall. All of which is a long way of saying I probably don't have, to your point, the same level of insight as others might on what's happening. I know what has happened at the college level. I would just say from the NFL's perspective, and specifically teams, general managers' perspective, they have concerns about what this is going to do because they've already dealt with all the unusual things surrounding the 2020 draft with just about every pro day was canceled, no workouts, no 30 visits, none of those opportunities to get with players, a completely remote draft. Now you're potentially impacting everything in 2021. And, you're basically going to be evaluating, depending on college football happens or doesn't happen, 2019 tape to draft guys in 2021, which is a set of challenges that they've simply never had to deal with before.
Well, absolutely. The amazing thing is that I really believe that they're going to play. The big schools are going to play. There's too much at stake there for them. And some way, somehow, they're going to play. It's going to affect the mid-range to certain smaller schools. They're going to have a problem playing because of the fans and the attendance and the money derived there that would be absent. But some way, somehow, the big boys are going to play. And we've got to have football. We've got to have football in this country. It's bigger than just playing the game of football. We've got to have NFL, and we've got to have some college football. I honestly believe that. Tom, listen, I told you we would only keep you for about 15 minutes. We've gone a little over that, and I apologize. But I certainly do appreciate it, and would like to be able to call on you again at some point.
Absolutely, Kay. Pleasure being with you, and thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
That's Tom Pelissero right there, of course, national reporter for NFL Network, NFL.com. You look at any of these breaking news articles, things like that, Tom Pelissero's name is typically one of those. He's right up there with Adam Schefter, some of the big-name guys, obviously, and Pelissero's done a heck of a job, like I said. Had a pretty interesting offseason. Like he said, busy, not necessarily talking about football and upcoming, but how are we going to play football? So some great stuff there, great insight, a great breakdown. I'm telling you, he is a home run interview to give you all the news, and he really gets into the weeds with some of the issues, and that's awesome to hear. But listen, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the SEC and some of the things they're doing right now. We're going to talk about what did LSU head coach Ed Orgeron say to our Vice President Mike Pence. Well, if you're a football fan, you might like it. If you're listening to the show, you're going to like it for sure. And Greg Sankey talking about some of the testing that's going on in the SEC as well. All that coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. At ESPN Pensacola, we're hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion and NFL Hall of Famer Derek Brooks.
The Super Bowl, and they're trying to win it for us. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Washington High School alum, Derek Brooks. You listen to ESPN Pensacola.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon, hope you're doing well, staying safe, washing your hands, social distancing, wearing a mask. People, and one thing I will say, I know we got a ton to get to with the mask situation. It's not necessarily about you; it's about everybody in our community, and it's a small gesture. And listen, if you can't wear a mask, I understand. If you have medical reasons, things like that, this is not towards you. It's just the general public here. Just throw it on there. Look, we are in this together. We are going to get through this together. We are going to be stronger together. Just throwing that out there. I know a lot of unrest and a lot of situations going on nonetheless. Just wanted to throw that out there for folks. Coach, look, I want to get into this because the SEC, of course, a lot of people panic, but yet I laugh because if you just read the headline, the SEC postpones competition until August 31st. People think football's in trouble. It has nothing to do with that. Football, this is actually towards volleyball, soccer, and cross country through August 31st have been postponed. It will not affect football, will not affect players, of course, practicing and things like that when we're talking about football. And these other teams can practice as well, but they can't have competition. Just throwing that out there for folks. I think this is obvious. I think it's a good move right now, once again, to try to get things on the right track. As we know, like we've said, having Tom Pelissero on, which, again, we thank Tom Pelissero for joining us on the show. This is a day-by-day process, but postponing through at least August 31st, just throwing that out there for SEC fans. The ACC said they're going to obviously postpone the same way through September 1st there. So, no big deal here. Nobody panic, just throwing the news out there for you and clarifying it. Coach, I want to get to something here. I thought this was interesting. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron, he had a conversation, of course, with Mike Pence, talking with the Vice President Mike Pence, about football and everything going on right now in our country and all this other stuff. And I thought it was interesting because Ed Orgeron goes on to say, I don't think we can take this away from our players, take this away from our state and our country. We need football. Football is the lifeblood of our country, in my opinion. It gets everything going, gets the economy going, the economy of Baton Rouge, the economy of the state of Louisiana. It's very important. And, Coach, this is what you've been talking about for quite some time. This is more, when you're talking about the economy, absolutely, but just for the psyche of our country. And people thought, for a lot of people out there that, well, whether maybe you didn't realize you were essential workers or not and how important a role you play in our society, you realize now. But when we talk about sports, our country, I know there's millions of things that are so important. Sports have an integral part in our society. And I know the virus is serious. We've talked about that on this show. But the psyche of our country, taking sports away, when it all stopped, people didn't know how to react. And then as time went on, people didn't know what to do. And I'm just talking about because sports, people don't realize how big of sports is in their life. And not everybody, but for the majority. And, Coach, I second Ed Orgeron's statements right here, talking about football is the lifeblood of our country. It's the most popular sport in our country, whether you like it or not. It is the most popular sport in our country, whether it's NFL or college football. It takes up our lives all the time in the off seasons. We can't wait to get the magazines to see the preseason. We can't wait to watch the spring games. Coach, I know you have mentioned this from the very beginning when this all happened, that we need football for our country. And obviously, I'm sure you're on the same page with Coach Ed Orgeron.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I don't know how any person could deny the fact that it is extremely important. Now, sports are important. There's no doubt about it. But if you think baseball, basketball, tennis, golf, all that was important, and it is, nothing compared to football. If football is taken away from the American public, there will be a tremendous backlash on that will be detrimental to the entire social scene. Now, I want to go a step further and say, I hope people realize that taking sports away is just one other piece of the puzzle that people are trying to put together right now on this country. And that is to raise the misery, what I call the misery index, what other people call the misery index, keep the virus problems going, hope the economy folds up again, that we have to shut everything down, keep the diversity on an edge, civil unrest in the streets, and no sports, in particular no football. If they could do that, would be a plus for their for what they're doing right now, what they're in the process of doing. So, for a lot of reasons, we need football, and I think we will. Just like we just said the whole time, I feel sincerely, and I think you felt the same way. We will have major college football. Can't say as much for mid-sized to smaller schools and college football. We will have the major colleges playing, and we're going to have NFL football. And those things, I believe, are going to happen. And there are a number of people, I think, that realize the importance of both. So take it from there. Yes, I agree with Coach O, and it may be even bigger than Coach O was emphasizing.
Yeah, absolutely. We know, because down here in the South, it's hard for anybody to argue the importance of what college football is, and we say it all the time. Now, we hate that this happens. We wish it never happened, period. But a lot of people saying, you know what, thank goodness this didn't happen towards, July or August, whatever it may be, just because we have an opportunity to play football now with everything that's going on. I know they're working towards possibly having a vaccine. I saw that, the vaccine that they've been working on has actually been doing pretty well. It's actually worked. It's a 30,000 person vaccine that they're doing here and just trying it out, a little test run, if so to speak. But look, good news moving forward. And I agree. Look, we talk about college football. We talk about NFL. Football overall. High school football around here means so much. We know how important it is to so many people, and I think that's we're seeing that. And for a lot of people, you know what? there is some positive signs moving forward. And with that being said, the reason I bring up these next few statements here, Coach, Greg Sankey, of course, was on Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis. He was talking about the testing and how things were going. And Clay Travis had asked him, how was testing going in the SEC? And Greg Sankey goes on to talk about we had some positive tests. He goes, but for the majority of the teams, we're actually down to 0. And I bring up, we talk about even Oklahoma's Lincoln Riley. He was confident there's going to be a season. He said somehow, some way, we'll find a way to do this and do this safely. Want to make that very clear, to do this safely. And he goes, remember, we had 14 tests positive the very first time we did testing. And as of their last time testing, they had 89 tests and 0 tested positive for COVID-19. We're seeing that. Like I said, I believe it was 25 FBS schools out of the 130. I'm not counting the FCS. I didn't do all that research. You know what? Just good I did the research I did. But 25 of the schools had positive tests, which means there's 105 other schools that had no positive tests. I think it's important because, like you were talking about with the misery index and whatever people may believe, I believe it's a real thing out there. But the media will let you know the negative stories, and they'll let you know the positives. But on this right now, when we look at it, how many times has the media come out and said, hey, look, all these schools are testing 0 positive? All right, they'll tell you about, okay, Ohio State shutting down because they had this many positive tests, or whether it's Kansas State or things like that. And I think the kids as well, we need to understand, are going through a lot. This is something different they've never had to go through. Coach, you mentioned in all your years of coaching and playing, you've never had to go through anything like this. This is a time right now we need to understand that everybody is trying to acclimate to change. If you don't change, well, good luck, because change is coming, change is here. We've seen that with the masks and things like that, with just in how our country is overall. I just want to throw that out there because we try to stay positive on this show, Coach. You know that. And like I said, Ohio State, they're back to work. They shut down for a few days, got their guys quarantined, of course, decontaminated everything the best they can do, and they put them back out there. But all these coaches are coming out. I want to make this clear, too. All these coaches are coming out. Even doctors are saying the best place for these players to be is in their own little bubble right now. I'm not going to get into the whole, when we bring students back or should we bring students back or things like that. That's above my pay grade. I'm not going to comment on that. But I'm saying for the players, Coach, we've talked about it on this show. It's the safest place for these two guys to be. But I wanted to bring that up because Greg Sankey, of course, the commissioner of the SEC, of course, saying that the majority of the teams are testing 0 positive now, which is a great sign. Some of these teams are testing a couple here and there, but things are starting to level out. And, Lincoln Riley, whether you love him or you hate him at Oklahoma, his program, and he was one that kind of scrutinized from the beginning. He said, we have to do this safely from the beginning. They had 14 tests positive. They didn't panic. They followed protocols, and now their last testing, they had 89 tests total, 0 tests positive. I just throw that out there, Coach, because I think that's so important. It doesn't get reported enough. Heck, it really doesn't get reported at all. You have to do your own research and really go out there and try to find and dig to find it. But there are positives with what's going on right now with college football and the NFL, Coach. I wanted to make sure and make sure people understand and get their news.
Yeah, and in fact, it's been widely reported now. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been reported, even on the evening news, that there has been a lack of accurate reporting on how many negative tests they're getting the positive results and not the negative, and there's some discrepancy as to how those numbers are coming out. But regardless, we do have a virus. It's extremely contagious. It can be extremely dangerous to people with underlying conditions and even to some young people, not many, but some. They are getting a handle on it. The vaccine looks extremely favorable at this point. Other treatments are getting great results. And I hope no one gets it, period. And I think that will level off here. But true, I think these kids are in much better shape if they can keep them on campus under certain conditions where and it's difficult now. I've said before, and I'll say it again. 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, it is tough to keep them quarantined. They want to be out with their friends and going around to different bars and things like that, and it's tough, but you got to do it. And I think with enough education, and certainly with a football season at stake, it'll mean enough to them that combined with the medical attention they'll be getting, the food, the discipline, the hours, everything keeps them in a much safer situation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Coach. And to bring up at that point, Kansas State, when they first did their testing, their coach was in an interview, and he had mentioned, listen, we had 0 test positive out of everybody. And then a couple days after that, when they were continuing their testing, 3 or 4 days later, they had, I believe it was 12 to 17. I can't remember exactly the number. It was somewhere in there, guys test positive. And then they said, uh-oh. He said, and what I believe it truly was is these guys, they said, okay, we're all negative here. So you know what? Maybe this isn't as serious as it is, or you know what? We're good. We can go out and about amongst our town and things like that. And then they tested positive. Same thing when you look at LSU. They had 30 players test positive at once, and they all linked them back to that one bar right there. This is going to be tough. And like I said, this is going to take some interesting. It's going to take patience from everybody involved. I do not envy anybody that's in these programs right now with everything they're having to follow. It is as tough as it's ever been. But it's also going to be a big-time change for these players as well. And I think the majority of these players, look, with them testing, having 0 positive cases in a lot of the cases here, I think that's awesome. I think the players are starting to understand what's going on as well and how serious this is. So, look, we're all learning from this virus. Coach, I will admit it. I was one from the beginning that we were talking about wearing a mask, and I'm like, okay, is that truly going to help anything or whatever? And now I'm one that's like, listen, it doesn't hurt me. I'm in good health. I'm blessed to be in good health, so I can wear a mask. But if it can help somebody else and we can move on from this and be stronger, then so what? I'm going to do it. And so I just throw that out there. I'm not trying to put anything on me, but it's just how my mindset has changed the more I've learned, especially when you're talking about education.
Absolutely, you're so right. I mean, it's crazy not to wear a mask. I think that's just do it and abide by the social distancing. Washing the hands, all the things that we know. There are about 3 or 4 things that we know has a direct effect on the spread of the disease. I don't know why people can't do that. But anyway, needless to say, I know we got a quick break here we got to get to, and then we finish up. Unfortunately, we run out of time.
As always, it seems, Coach, we have hours upon hours, but you know what? We're going to get through as much as we can. We're like Coach said, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the NCAA eased bowl eligibility. We'll explain what that means. And, if we have a second, we'll talk about Phil Steele in the ACC. Clemson may be the ruler right now, but for how long? We'll talk about all that and more coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before.
Coming up on Sports Call this Saturday, baseball and basketball are on the verge of getting underway, but will their seasons finish? We'll talk about it this Saturday on Sports Call with Davis and Justin on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining us. Of course, appreciate again Tom Pelissero with NFL.com, a great writer right there, a reporter, and he has had his work cut out for him. It doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon. I think, if anybody, he's definitely ready for the season to start, to go ahead and get talking some more actual football and not how are we going to get there. But nonetheless, great to have him on. We appreciate it. And a reminder to people as well, tomorrow, Mike McCarthy, the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, will join us on the show. Look, a lot of stuff been going on with the Cowboys. Of course, they didn't come to a deal with Dak Prescott yesterday. He will play on the franchise tag, but they have had a tremendous offseason, bringing in Andy Dalton as well as drafting CeeDee Lamb and some other guys. That's a team that's going to be interesting in that division last year when you look at that didn't necessarily play the way everybody thought they would. And this year, bringing on Mike McCarthy, Jason Garrett is gone. Going to be a lot to talk about with Mike McCarthy. Going to be a lot of fun to talk about as well. Coach, I want to jump right into this real quick. I know we only got a few minutes, but the NCAA's Division I Council announced Wednesday that it approved a blanket waiver to request to allow FBS teams to count 2 wins against FCS opponents. Now, the previous rule, if you didn't know, which, you know what, we all learn stuff every once in a while, previous rule allowed FBS teams to count only 1 win over an FCS opponent for bowl eligibility. The adjustment will apply only to the 2020-2021 college sports season, which is, of course, fall 2020, and if they have to move it to spring in 2021, they went ahead and did that just to cover it. Coach, when you look at this, look, 5-5 is now bowl eligible. We talked about 6-6. It's a shame that makes you bowl eligible, but it is what it is. But you know what, Coach? With everything going on right now, any problem with the NCAA easing the bowl eligibility, I mean, this is more along the lines of course, group of 5 teams, not necessarily Power 5 teams, because it seems like a lot of Power 5 teams are probably going to play other Power 5 teams when we're talking about the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, possibly linking together to play some mixture of games there. But, Coach, I mean, is this kind of an obvious situation for the NCAA to go ahead and make this statement?
I think it's sick, to be honest with you. I am very, very adamant about the fact that we've let bowl games get totally out of hand. They don't mean anything. I mean, there's some bowl games that they can't give away enough tickets to even see people in the stands. And I can understand that. And a 6-6 record gets you in the bowl. It used to be the better football teams, usually the top 10 teams in the country would have a bowl to go to. And that would be it. But you had to work like heck, and you had to be a very good football team to make it to a bowl game. You were rewarded. That was a reward for having the season. Not the case anymore. Just show up, I guess. Show up and be counted. You will get there.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. We know those are unbelievable. Some of those games that are 6-6 and things like that. It's never a good football game. And like you said, I think that's a very good point. You can't even give tickets away to these games when you look at the stadiums and how empty they are. But I guess it is what it is at this point. And you know what? We'll move on. And at this point, like I said, we'll just take some college football, whatever it may be. But nonetheless, Coach, you know what? We had a great show. Of course, Tom Pelissero. We'll have Mike McCarthy on with us tomorrow, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But, Coach, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It really has, and we'll look forward to tomorrow as usual, JP. We really appreciate our sponsors, and we appreciate our listeners out there, our audience. Thank you.
Absolutely. We love them to death. We appreciate what they do, not just for us to be able to talk football to you, but what they do in our community as well. We are so gracious for all our sponsors. And you know what? We'll talk a little bit more about them as well tomorrow. But with that being said, listen, talking about tomorrow, don't forget Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, will join us right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. Not all the players have been tested yet, but 72 NFL players have already tested positive for COVID-19 as of last Friday. That information from the NFLPA. 32-year-old running back LaShawn McCoy is still a free agent. He says he's waiting for the right fit.
I don't want to just play the game just to say, hey, I'm LaShawn McCoy at Pro Bowls and I'm still playing and that's not enough for me. I'm the type of guy, I want to compete. I want to be with a good team. I want to be able to help the team out.
LaShawn McCoy on First Take. Pelicans rookie Zion Williamson leaves the NBA bubble in Orlando for a family medical issue. When he comes back, he'll have to be quarantined for at least 4 days. The Wizards will wear a jersey patch for the return to play to honor the late Wes Unseld. The Hall of Famer died in June. The Washington Mystics will also pay tribute to Unseld. Golf in the first round at the Memorial in Dublin, Ohio. Brendan Steele holds the lead at 4 under after a 68 today. Tiger Woods just underway in his first round. He's 1 under.
It ain't game day, but you can still feast